Congressman Michael Waltz, he serves on the House Intelligence Committee. He's also a former Green Beret commander. So the Biden administration taking an early victory lap over a sharp decline in illegal immigration. But at the same time, we have this Afghan national who was on the terror watch list apprehended. And there were hundreds of thousands of gotaways who entered the United States since Biden took office. We don't know who they are, where they are, or what their intentions are. Congressman, is that a problem for you?
Yeah, it's a huge problem, John. I think it's a problem for every American. Look, we know that people from over 170 countries are now coming across our border. The word has gone out that it's wide open, and if you can just get there and step foot across our border, then you can enter into our asylum system, get a workplace or get a workforce visa, and then wait 5 to 7 years to maybe show up for court. And look, John, we have to remember, going back to Afghanistan, there were thousands and thousands of the most hardened ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Taliban fighters released from the prison that was at Bagram. One of them turned out to be the suicide bomber that killed our 13 Americans at Abbey Gate. Where have they all gone? We've lost track of them. And meanwhile, I'm hearing from Afghans that are still there, still in hiding from the Taliban, that the Taliban are issuing visas and passports to terrorists that can leave legally through the airport in Kabul and travel all over the world and come into our country that way. So look, the lights are blinking red. I think it's only a matter of time until we're hit again. And the general in charge of the Middle East said he expects it within 6 months.
Yeah, I want to jump to call for number 2 here. The president was asked the other day if he had any plans to visit the southern border. Here's what he said.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
Not in the near term, no. No, it'd just be disruptive.
He said it would be disruptive for him to visit the border. I don't know how many times former President Trump visited the border, and it didn't seem to be very disruptive. The Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, we're happy to show him what the situation is in the border, and it boosts morale as well for the people who are working so diligently on the front lines. Yeah,
look, anybody would. It's human nature. The Border Patrol is overwhelmed. They're overworked. They're having retention issues. Part of our border bill that we just passed would give them retention bonuses and beef them up. But, you know, they need to see their commander in chief as a leader, as a military leader, as a businessman. Whenever you have a crisis, you go to the scene of the crisis or the problem and lead. And you know, just to see some basic leadership here and some compassion for what our Border Patrol are going through and some compassion for the conditions at these migrant centers. Look, Biden ran on competence and compassion, and we're seeing neither, John. Not at all.
Congressman, I want to ask you one other question about a different issue based on your military experience, also your position on the Intel Committee. I want to put up some maps from the Institute for the Study of War, because what we see happening in Ukraine here as the land is drying out is there's been a tense back and forth over the winter time, lines not really moving much in this huge battle for Bakhmut. We are expecting a major Ukrainian counteroffensive to happen sometime in the next few weeks. There is a sense that what's been happening is that Ukraine has been trying to exhaust Russian forces and Wagner mercenaries in that battle for Bakhmut and then attack them somewhere else. What do you see happening in the weeks ahead?
Well, part of this has been getting the armor in place, both the German tanks and now we're seeing some of our American tanks get into place. You need the conditions on the ground to actually support those tanks. I mean, we're talking 60, 70 tons a piece. And then number 2, the logistics to support them. And 3, the munitions. Both sides have completely exhausted their ammunition. And getting that ammunition in place, remember, John, in kind of basic military doctrine, you need a 3-to-1 advantage, offense to defense. And what we're seeing from the Ukrainians is building that up. And you're right, attriting the Russians, wearing them down, and keeping them guessing where the offensive is going to go. From my trips out there, I think at the end of the day, Zelensky has to have more access to the Black Sea. and you're going to see the main thrust in that direction. He also needs to get that nuclear plant back. That's responsible for about 40% of Ukraine's power. Those two objectives, and he's in a position of strength if we go to the negotiating table.
All right, well, we'll see how it all unfolds. Our apologies. There's a K missing from the locator there on the right-hand side of the screen, but we all know it's Bakhmut. Congressman, good to be with you. Thanks for kicking us off this Monday. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, John.